Hi guys, this is Stan. Welcome back to my channel. Today let's talk about all the amazing fantasy books I finished in June. June is possibly my best reading month so far in 2024. In June, I have read 7 books, which is the most in my life. I know I said it so many times in other wrap-up video. I can't believe I read so much in this month, but I think June is literally my limit. I honestly don't think myself can read any more than that, and the reason I push myself so hard in June is only because I'm going to be away in July and August, so I don't have much time for reading. It would be better for me to read more now, and then by the end of the year, I can reach my goal of reading 48 books. So about the statistic of the books I finished in June, all of them is fantasy. 5 of them is adult fantasy and 2 of them is YA. Only 1 of them is in audio format and the rest is physical. The total page count is around 3,300 with an average rating of 3.7 stars. To my impression, I think most of the books are great, but only 1 or 2 of them didn't live up to my expectation. Now I will chat about the books according to the time I finished them. The first book I finished in June is definitely my favorite or even the best book in June. It is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, the second book of the Poppy War series. I know I sound like a broken record now, but I love how R.F. Kuang has integrated history into her fantasy world. In this book, we're still following Rin, a war orphan turned into the leader of the Zike, a group of assassins after the ending of the first book. She hated the Empress for selling the country, causing the Third Poppy War, so she worked with the warlord of the Dragon Province, Vasra. With this united force, the technology, the warships from the Dragon Province, and also the shaman from Rin, they hope that they can take down the empire and set up a republic. But of course, there's gonna be more about this plan. Rin discovers who Vasra is working with, what Vasra with all the resources didn't do in the Third Poppy War. This book to me is still full of Easter eggs to find out what R.F. Kuang has integrated from Chinese history and culture. It is still really brutal, it is still really bloody. There's no mercy with what everyone is doing. I also love the bonding between Rin, Kita, and Venka. They are all from the War Academy in Sangard and they have gone through a lot since then. I really love seeing them working and helping each other out, and this is definitely a 5-star read. The second book I finished also keep up with this vibe. It is The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan, the first book of the Last Legacy series. It is also a new release in late April this year. At first, I thought this book is going to be on a darker, serious side. It sounds like a revenge-ish story, where our main character, Lucan, tries to figure out the mysterious murder of his father. Following the clues left by him, Lucan alone traveled to a city called Safrona, where everything gonna have a price. At this point, you may think this book is about finding truth in a dark city, but in fact, this book is giving me a murder mystery mixing with some Uncharted vibe. Lucan luckily meet a street rat called Flea. Together, they find the clues step by step. Trying to find ally in this city, figure out the message his father means. This one murder turns out to be a bigger political scheme. I really enjoyed this easy, fun ride of finding out what is going on in Safrona. The banter between Flea, a lowborn, with Lucan, a noble, is fun. There are different friends and enemies they're gonna meet, so this journey is never easy and always full of dangers. There is a magic system in this world, but it is not a hardcore one. More, it is like assist our characters along the way. I had such a good time reading this one, so for sure I will check out the rest of the series in the future. After 2 chunky fantasy books, the third book I read is more like a palate cleanser, a relatively shorter one, and it is The Exile by Ryan Cahill, the second novella of the Bound and the Broken series. I don't know how to comment on a short novella because to me it is like providing information that the novels cannot do. This book focuses on Ding, a new POV in the second novel in the series. It starts with a rebellion of Ding's family against the Lorien Empire and then how he survives it and won't forgive what the Empire has done. He then meets Benina, who help him to find out those that are responsible for the death of his family. This short novella is packed with actions. From the epic rebellion in the beginning, then a series of assassinations with Belina, and at last meeting Exile, a very important character who fight against the Empire. We also understand how they're gonna join the plot in the second book. I would say that if you are interested in this series, it is better for you to check out all the novellas as well because there are quite a lot of world buildings there. After finishing this novella, now I can jump into the third book in July. After all these great fantasy books, I hit a massive disappointment, and it is 5 Broken Blades by Mike Cullen, the first book of the Broken Blades series. I think the disappointment comes from the massive difference between the synopsis and what is actually going on. Just from the synopsis, this book is about 5 characters killing the king of Yusan. These 5 can be assassins, hitmen, or even an exiled prince. They have to work together through lies, deception, and betrayal. At this point, it sounds like a really dark, very serious, brutal political read, but in fact, it is a romantasy. We're gonna follow 6 main characters. In the first half of the story, they're going to work in pair of 2 to travel to Yusan. On their way, all 3 pairs gonna have love interests developing. The second half, they will come together and plan this mission. They may have their own goal and purpose, so some characters may secretly work together. But the promised lies, deception, betrayal, I can't feel any of it. It is so minimal. All 6 characters, unfortunately, are on the flat side. They are what you expect with people with this particularly kind of personality. There are actions, but I don't think we see the full potentials of this group of assassins and killers. The writing here is also quite average. The chapter is usually 5-page long with lots of broken paragraphs. I found most of the time the romance is overwhelming other elements in the book, but it is not great. These 3 pairs of love interests feel so instant and convenient to me. Overall, I think it is possibly the worst book I have read in June, and it is a case of false advertising in a sense. Then I looked up on Goodreads and also from the comments of my reading vlog, I found that quite a number of people agrees that this book doesn't live up to that hype. Imagine this book got special edition from Waterstones, from Ghostwell, from the Broken Binding. You would expect this book gonna be great, but it is not the case. After such a disappointment, I have another book that I didn't know I will fall in love with, and it is Promise of Blood by Brian McKellen, the first book of the Powder Mage trilogy. When fantasy book got too modernized with the use of firearms, gunshots, it kind of pulled me out a little bit because I don't think fantasy world should be like this. Looking at the cover and also the art of the end paper, I thought, oh gosh, I got myself into trouble, but luckily it's not the case. This book starts with the peak of a coup. One of our main characters, Thomas, led the Powder Mage to take down this corrupted monarchy. Then he has to deal with those known as the royalists who still support the monarchy, and also those scramble for money and power. Then he asks his son, Tanya, to track down this powerful privilege, those who can wield magic. He also asks a retired police inspector called Adamant to decode a mysterious message. All of them is pointing to someone is summoning the god from the legend. What I do like is how the story unfolds. You can tell the author has a clear plan and everything progresses steadily. There are also lots of intense battles. Some could be with the use of guns, some could be fought with 2 magic systems. The first one is the Powder Mage, those who can use gunpowder to enhance their senses. And then we have the Privilege, those who are like the good old fantasy books who can wield different elements. In this book, we're going to follow quite a huge cast of characters other than the 3 main POVs, but you will find every single one of them stands out and distinctive. I really enjoyed this one and definitely will check out the rest of the series. The last physical book I finished is not on my TBR video because I finished them all quite early in June. Seeing I still got time left, why not pick another book up? So I have God Killer by Hannah Kiner, the first book of the Fallen Gods series. In this book, we're gonna follow 4 main characters: Kisan, a god killer, Inara, a noble girl, Sket, a god of white lies, and also Ido, a retired knight turned into a baker. They are all going to a city where the gods live and seek advice from them. Inara wanna sever the tie with Sket so that they don't have to rely on each other. Ido wanna help his friend out who is also a king. I like the setting of the book, particularly the relationship between gods and human. The birth of the gods is because of the desire of human, and then they will ask for offerings in return helping the human out. I also enjoy the dynamics between our four main characters. Kisan has gone through a lot in her life already, so she don't want the same happen to Inara. She also knows the cost from the gods, so she don't want Ilo to make a silly mistake. But the thing I don't really enjoy is the pacing of it. This book is not long already. It is roughly 300 pages long, but the pacing is really slow. It takes over a third of the book for our characters to come together and realize what they want to do. On their way to their destination, they're gonna travel with a group of companions, but they didn't add anything to the plot, and frankly, they are quite forgettable. After 2/3 of the story, they finally arrive in the city, and then things stirred up quite quickly. The twist, the fight happened really fast. The ending to me doesn't feel like an ending if you have read this book. Obviously, there's gonna be the next book, Sunbringer, but I just hope that there's gonna be more to the resolution in the first book. With all these reasons, especially the pacing, I don't think I will continue reading this series. Then really coming to the last book, you may think the God Killer is the last one, but no, I have actually been listening to the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. By the time of filming, I nearly finished Queen of Shadow, the fourth book in the series. I think this book is probably the best so far. In this book, Aiden is ready to fight for her throne. She reunites with other familiar characters and tries to take down two important enemies, the King of Ardenland and former master, Arobin. I found this book is full of dramas. The first quarter of the book when Aiden meets Chaos again, the first time seeing Aiden. It is not a happy moment because of what they have gone through in the series. You thought it's gonna be a happy reunion, but it turns out to be something else. When Rowan comes, things has changed too. There are quite a lot of smuts with Aiden. The second half of the book is also quite intense. Firstly, we have a plan for Arobin, which is quite brutal. And then Aelin, after his death, is quite savage when she handles the wheel. We also try to save Lysandra or even Dorian, who was processed by the Fourth Prince. This is, I guess, what I love about Sarah J. Maas. You have world building, you have romance, unexpected turns, savage moment all in one book, and every element is balanced so well. I know I said it so many times, but it is like watching a reality show that is full of dramas and smuts. This is for sure the best book so far in the series. So here are all the books that I have read in June. It is quite a lot and I am actually quite proud of myself. This only happens because I'm going to be away in the summer. Let me know in the comment what's your favorite and least favorite book you have read in June. So if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a like. If you don't want to miss any content from me, make sure you have subscribed to my channel. I will see you real soon. Goodbye. Wait.